Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in, and I just want to deal with one or two, three issues just today. But first and foremost, let me just send my condolences to the family of Shona Ferguson, who passed away this week. She's the husband of Connie. Now, the gentleman has contributed a lot in terms of film production and script writing, and even actually acting, because he was acting in a number of the soapies, dramas, and I'll say sketches. So the loss of the family of Shona is a loss to South Africans. And so my condolences to the family, friends, and South Africans as a whole. Today I just want to look at one thing, the Lebanon situation. In South Africa, the past few weeks have been, I'll say, traumatizing. Seeing on the news the situation that was taking place or rather the looting that was taking place in KZN and some parts of Gauteng. That has been depressing and painful to watch. Because people have contributed a lot in building the country, and all of a sudden a minority of people just come and destroy property within a flash. That was very sad. But let's move from there and look at some other issues around the world. Let's look at the issue of Lebanon, which is what I want to look at today. Lebanon is in a more serious crisis than South Africa. Unemployment, it is claimed that it's 7%, or rather 6.7. Let's say 7%. 7%, it's too small or too little. But the truth of the matter on the ground in Lebanon, I met two Lebanese last week or last month. One last month, one last week. Last week and last month. It's one and the same thing. And these Lebanese were telling me about the situation in Lebanon. And if you look at Lebanon was part of Syria, or Syria and Lebanon was one and the same thing. But Lebanon was separated from Syria and it became independent. But that process obviously followed the discussions that took place. You remember Hafiz al-Assad, the father of the current president of Syria, al-Assad. So his father was the one that negotiated the whole thing, and which saw the separation of Lebanon from Syria. So Syria became independent and now is having its own legislature as an independent state. And remember the 1980s civil war in Syria, where the number of sectors there fought against each other and all that. Now, the composition of the legislature or parliament of Syria is not exactly the same as Lebanon, but there are similarities because they are sectarian in a way. Now, if you look at the Lebanon has tended to have sectors represented, Christians represented in parliament, the Druze represented in parliament. I didn't say the Jews, I said the Druze. And you have the Shia represented in parliament, the Sunni represented in parliament. The different religious sectors are represented in parliament. Well, that system, it is claimed that it's not working. In my view, it's not working because it has continuously produced corruption. It has continuously produced sectarianism or strengthened or deepened sectarianism in the country, Lebanon. And that is a problem on its own. Now, Lebanon has been in this crisis. It has been sliding. You could see that it was sliding through the problems, and it was getting deeper and deeper into serious financial and economic trouble. And in the past since 2019, people started protesting because unemployment was going high. I don't believe this 7% nonsense that has been reported about. that is 7%. It's not 7, it's more than 7% unemployment. That is why many Lebanese are leaving Lebanon. They are going to the United States, some are going to South Africa, some are going to the UK, and so forth. Now, the currency of Lebanon, if really there was no serious unemployment problem, I don't think the economy would have collapsed like that. And the Lebanese pound now is basically worth nothing. I mean, $1 equals 15,000 Lebanese pound. I mean, what's that? You must go around with a wheelbarrow like Zimbabwe to go and buy bread. It's because, I mean, the Lebanese pound basically is worthless. And you don't need that. If you have a good economy, you don't run into such inflation, that runaway inflation. Now, the minister Saad Hariri resigned recently last month. He was a minister, he was prime minister, he was supposed to take over and form a government. He failed to form a government. Out of the sectarian groupings that are there, he failed. Now they nominated through votes a prime minister designate, Najib Mikati. Najib Mikati is supposed to take over and form a government. I mean, he's a businessman, he's a billionaire, he knows how to run businesses and all that. But the politics of Lebanon are different from a business. That is why it's so complicated. We are hoping for the best that Najib might come up with something very progressive and constitute a government. And we probably might start seeing Lebanon getting back to normal with less protests and less food shortages, less fuel shortages, and probably the international financial institutions might come to the party and loan money to the Lebanese government. But at the moment, no investor want to invest in a country that is not stable economically, politically, and even religiously. You can't go and invest in such a country that is not stable. You can't. There's no shrewd business person who can go and invest in an unstable political climate or country. But we hope that Najib, as soon as he constitutes the government, we hope that many investors might look towards the new political establishment and seek to invest. But I mean, we are just holding our breath as far as that is concerned, because it's not an easy thing. It's not just going to take place overnight and people start rushing to Lebanon to go and invest. It's going to be a challenge. Remember, Lebanon relies mostly on imported goods. A lot of the things they have, the food, whether equipments, medical equipments, machinery, and so on, are imported from outside countries. So Lebanon itself is not exporting a lot of goods. And so an importing dependent country is bound to be affected by what is happening internationally. Like now you have coronavirus, so the Lebanese had to face the economic turmoil in their own country. They had to face also the international pandemic, COVID-19, and try to see, I mean, there's no medication. People are just basically dying, some of them, in the country. Obviously, you don't get much reporting because that is preceded by other international developments and the economic crisis that is taking place in that country. I mean, other people also lost their lives. More than 200 people lost their lives during the blast at the harbor in Lebanon. I mean, Lebanon is just basically, as people put it, cursed. But unless you begin dismantling the sectarian politics, I don't think Lebanon will move that much fast. But we wish the Prime Minister designate Mikati good luck, and we hope that he'll be able to put on a government and the Lebanon might get back to its feet. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to this update on Lebanon, and hoping to see you next time. Goodbye. Cheers.